want to get a lot of y'all's thoughts, opinions on what the new podcast should entail. We're still refining the outline of the podcast. It's going to be much more structured than the Meet the McBees has been. If you guys have any thoughts of what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear, any segments you'd like to have in the new podcast, please put them in the comments below. We read every single one. We're still fluid in making the structure and outline of the new podcast More Than McBee. So we need y'all's input, what you like to hear. What do you want to talk about? What would you like to see as far as guests that we have on? And we're excited. We're going to double down on the podcast going into 2026, have podcast-specific merch lines, have podcast-specific giveaways. We plan on doing a giveaway in every single podcast episode starting in 2026. Starting with More Than McBee, there's going to be a giveaway in every single episode. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Meet the McBees. Today, I'm going to give you a little update on how my dad is doing. He's been there for, today's Friday, so it's been a full week. We dropped him off Monday at about 1:30 p.m. So he's been there about 4 or 5 days, and I'll give you a little update on how he's doing, what's going on around the farm, and what's to come in the next month or so with this podcast. Let's get down and dirty with it. This week has been a memorable week. Not for good reasons. We dropped my dad off Monday up in Yankton, South Dakota at prison camp. And I think for all of us, because of how busy we've been in the businesses, because of how much we have going on, not only between filming season 3, but also, candidly, between trying to get these businesses up and going, trying to cut down on a lot of our debt, which we've done a damn good job of in 2025. But we haven't really had the time to process or even think too much about what it would be like to have my dad gone. And we all drove up to South Dakota together. This is all public knowledge. You can see it on articles. Dropped him off. And I can tell you personally, that was one of the hardest days of my life. I'd put it right up there with losing my grandpa as a senior in high school unexpectedly. That definitely is top 3 hardest days of my life. Seeing a man that has been the leader of the companies, the leader of our family, someone that I look up to and respect so much, stripped down of everything, like cowboy hat, necklace, wallet, cell phone, and walking into a prison camp with nothing but the shirt on his back. It's a humbling experience, and it's certainly not something, I'll just say 2025 is full of one-off experiences that I will never, ever, ever go through again. For as bad as that day was, getting to travel up there together as a family with the 2 grandbabies, with all of our girls, it was very eye-opening. And I think another very good reminder and lesson about how much of a priority family time and quality time spent with friends and loved ones is to our lives. Like, forget all the businesses, all the material things. None of that matters at the end of the day. It truly doesn't. Hell, we're going to be kicked out of this office. It's already sold. We're going to be out of this studio. I'm not going to have it anymore. And guess what? I don't give a crap. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything for us. At the end of the day, spending times with friends, family, and loved ones is what it's all about. And the trip up to South Dakota, the 5-hour trip that we had, we were laughing, playing games, talking. It just was a very, very good reminder of putting the right things into perspective and prioritizing what actually means the most in this life. And that is friends, family, loved ones, and quality time. So enjoyed that experience, but dropping my dad off, seeing him walk off the bus and follow the warden into the camp, it's tough. It was really tough. And since then, we've had a crazy busy week. We have a lot going on. Really trying to get these car washes into a state where we feel comfortable, and they're close. They're very, very close. We've spent a lot of time, energy, and effort in getting them up and going and stabilized. And the winter is our busiest season, and so we're doing everything we can to make sure that we pop off this winter and get to profitability as a company and stay there. And so that's been our focus. This week we hit it hard. Had a lot of really tough but good company meetings, some really difficult conversations, and we'll have some very difficult conversations beyond just this week. But I feel like we're making substantial progress as far as communication with my dad goes. Again, never thought that I'd have this experience, but I have an app on my phone now called Core Links where you get to communicate with inmates. It's so strange to think that my dad has been humbled down to the point where his identity is his inmate number. And it is just surreal. I mean, for any of you that have ever had a loved one or a friend be incarcerated, I have a newfound respect for the strength that you have to get through that, for what you have to go through. It is a tough experience, and it's hard to balance that with still pursuing everyday life and progressing in everyday life. But anyways, I have this app called Core Links where I get to communicate with my dad. Generally, it's just one email every single night. He tells me what he's been doing, and I get to respond back to him, give him a little update on how things are going out here. I'll be honest, the first day for my dad was very, very tough. It was a shell shock. I think that he was so busy leading up to it, and he does a really good job of compartmentalizing. He didn't understand or think too much about what it was going to be like. He's like, when the day comes, I'll go in there, and that'll be the first time I really think about it. That first 24 hours, he did not understand. The food aspect, I think, was the biggest shell shock, and then also just what being away from family is like. And the first evening's conversation, he was in pretty low spirits. He was, he's like, this is, he's like, I don't want the boys to know this, but this sucks. Like, this is way worse than I thought. I'm going to get through it, but yeah, this is pretty rough. The food is awful. I don't even know what I'd call bad food now if I was on the outside compared to what the food is now. In saying that, after the first 24 hours, he woke up the next morning, and every day's emails, he's talked to Cole on the phone, he's talked to my mom on the phone, those have been much more positive. He's getting into a little more of a routine. It was funny, he said that he benched 225 10 times around a bunch of young dudes that were in there, and they were all impressed. So he was like, yeah, I feel pretty good about my benching. He's like, I'm focusing on working out 2 hours a day. I've got a workout partner now. I played some basketball, which is so funny to me, thinking of my dad not having a cell phone and playing basketball. But he's starting to settle into a routine. And in fact, today is Friday, December 5th. Yeah, December 5th. And today he started a job. I'm not quite sure what that entails. He just said that he started his job last night when he emailed me. He said, I start my job tomorrow. So he's excited about that, getting a little bit more into a work routine, a workout routine. And he's going to be fine. And on the outside over here, I think this has been a very good thing because it gives my brothers and I the opportunity to be even more involved in the businesses and know down to a gnat's ass exactly what is taking place across every single business, how every single dollar is being spent, how every single person is spending their time. And there's been some big revelations this week, and I completely own up to the fact that I was not spending enough time where I needed to be focused on, and knowing exactly where cash flow was taking place across all the companies. I was focused more on meat facility, fulfillment center, a little bit on the farms, not really on the car washes. Now we are heavily involved across the board. Like, if there is a pack of bubble gum being bought by the company, we know about it. And I think that's going to do nothing but benefit us in the long run. We're creating new systems and processes that are going to really make us a better operation moving forward. And I truly do think that by the time my dad gets out, our businesses are going to be in the best shape they've ever been in. Braden, Jesse, Cole, and I, Galena, my mom, like, this is a team effort we're putting into these companies, and every single person is going to be pulling their weight. There's not going to be any dependence on any one person. I think that a lot of times when my dad was here working, if shit really hit the fan and things got really, really, really rough, you could always just call my dad as the ultimate trump card to be the problem solver or to figure out the solution. Now we don't have that, and so it's forcing all of us to think by committee and come up with solutions by committee. And I believe that's going to benefit us in the long run. I think that we were too dependent on him for the major problem-solving skills and also the major negotiations or tough conversations. We were too dependent on my dad, and this is giving us the opportunity to step up, lead by committee and for each of us to find our own strengths within the companies. And I'm very, very proud of Jesse and Cole. Very proud of Braden stepping up at the car wash. He's leading the maintenance team now between him and one other guy. They're doing a very good job of it. Jesse and Cole have both stepped up. Jesse's starting to work in the home side. Cole has stepped up across the farm tremendously. Just very, very proud of how everyone is facing this head on. They're not running away or cowering down in fear. They are standing up with their chest stuck out and saying, we're going to get through this. And not only are we going to get through this, we are going to blossom during this time and come out stronger and better than ever. And I believe that with every ounce of what I've got in me. I mean, every single bone in my body truly believes wholeheartedly that we will be so much better by the end of 2026. And we're not looking back. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about what the turn of the new year is going to bring, not only across the companies, but for this podcast. Hey, y'all, if you haven't had a chance yet to check out our newest sponsor, Schaefer Outfitter, now is the time, because we are coming up on outerwear season, and that is what they do best. Now, depending where you are, it may still be hot, and they've got great lightweight performance shirts and pearl snaps for that exactly. And if you're up north or on the coast, you know that brisk weather is just around the corner. And Schaefer Outfitter has the perfect functional layers, vests, denim shirts, jeans, their signature coats and jackets, whatever you need. It's going to fit well, be comfortable, and perform like you expect it to. This is high-quality apparel from a family-owned, authentic Western brand. Check them out at SchaeferOutfitter.com and use code McBee for 15% off your first order. We've been wearing Schaefer Outfitter since long before they were our sponsors. In fact, I've had this vest for about 5 years now, and we're excited to spread the word with our fans. The feedback that we've gotten so far from folks that have tried them out is that the clothing was even nicer out of the box than what they expected from the website and the photos. So give them a look. Again, that's code McBee during checkout for 15% off at SCHAEFER Outfitter.com. I've teased it several times. Y'all are probably very annoyed with my teasing of what's to come here. But I think now is the time to tell you that we will be rebranding this podcast. The name of the podcast will be More Than McBee, because in my opinion, with Meet the McBees, it was, I don't want to say a ego-driven podcast, but the entire reason we named it Meet the McBees was because we knew a lot of the traffic, a lot of the eyeballs that we're getting is because of the McBee Dynasty TV show, rightfully so. And so we wanted to make sure that whenever people Googled or were looking us up, they'd be able to find our name associated with our podcast and that it was all cohesive and consistent. It's the same reason why all of our company brands are McBee, because we knew the TV show is driving the eyeballs to all of our brands. So that's why we have McBee Meat Company, obviously McBee Farm and Cattle Co., McBee's Coffee and Car Wash. That wasn't made out of a full, like, look at me, look at our name, look at what we're doing. It was because we knew the TV show was going to be the driver of the eyeballs. Most of you that have found us have watched the TV show, and then you go online and search the name McBee, and that's why we want our companies popping up when you search the name. That's why we branded it that way. In saying that, Meet the McBees, in my opinion, and how I personally felt about it, we could only talk about two things. We could talk about the TV show, episode recaps, and we could talk about what's going on in our personal businesses. And for me, I have so many different passions outside of those two things. I love fitness. I love personal development. I love talking about latest news and updates, not only in our industry, the ag industry, but across all industries. And Meet the McBees really pigeonholed us into where I couldn't have other guests on because, again, it's Meet the McBees. It's about us. It's about the McBees. So it felt weird if I was to have a guest come in, say from the country music scene or the influencing scene, and I'm sitting here saying, welcome to Meet the McBees, and I'm talking to another guest. To me, and maybe I'm overstating it or overthinking it, but it just never sat right with me to have the name of the podcast be Meet the McBees and then be able to have outside opinions come in, outside topics, expanding beyond just the McBee name. So in saying that, we sat down over the last month and said, okay, what are we going to do? How can we rebrand this to where we still catch all of the traffic from the TV show? So if someone was to search the name McBee on Google, they'd be able to see not only our businesses, but this podcast and associate the podcast with the McBees, but get it to where we can focus on things outside of just the world of McBee or the McBee stratosphere. And so came up with the name More Than McBee. And I think it fully encapsulates what we're trying to do with the podcast. This is so much more than just us about our family. Yes, we're going to recap episodes. Yes, we're going to give you life updates in our world because you guys are so invested in it, and we appreciate that so much. It's still crazy to me how much y'all love following along with our lives. I don't think we're that interesting, but the fact that y'all are so invested, it's really, really cool. So we'll still have that side of it, but obviously saying more than McBee, we'll also be able to dive into other topics, have new guests on the podcast, really freshen up the content, go into more of, if we want to have a fitness-specific episode, we can do that now. If we want to have a personal development, latest books, self-improvement, even, hell, we have a bunch of connections in the country music scene, have country music singers come in here and talk about what's going on in their world. It just gives us the opportunity to expand, have fresh, new, exciting content, and candidly, it puts the focus more on the topics at hand rather than the McBees, which is what I've wanted to do. For me, I think that 2025 was such a humbling experience. I don't want to be in the spotlight saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. I want it to be more about a content and topic-driven podcast, which is what we get to do by expanding this name, by going to more than McBee. And we're going to do that at the turn of the new year. We have this podcast that I'm filming right now and one more that'll be under the Meet McBee's portfolio. And then we're going to be bringing it in for a whole new setup. It's going to look different. We're going to be in a new studio. It's going to be exciting, and I'm pumped about it, candidly. So I wish it wasn't just me in here breaking this news down for you. Maybe for the last podcast of the year, we'll have more than just me in here. It's been tough, really tough to get any of my brothers in here because of how busy we are, and rightfully so. We've got bigger fish to fry and more important things than coming into a studio and filming a podcast that we don't make any money from. And I don't mean that in a disingenuous way. The fact that y'all tune into these podcasts means the world to us, and that's why we want to continue doing them. It's just right now we are very, very busy with some pretty important things going on that we need to handle. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the ability to film a podcast if we don't handle these things right now. So next week, for the last podcast of the year, for the last podcast of Meet the McBees, we're going to have more than just me in the studio, and we'll be discussing what is happening around the farm, what's to come with the turn of the new year, and also want to get a lot of y'all's thoughts, opinions on what the new podcast should entail. We're still refining the outline of the podcast. It's going to be much more structured than the Meet the McBees has been. Candidly, when we come in here, we just kind of, shoot from the hip. We don't know exactly what we're going to talk about. We try to focus it on a topic, but we end up all over the place. I don't like the flow of it. I want a more structured podcast, the way that you listen to some of the more successful podcasts. It's around a content-driven theme or a topic for each and every podcast that's specific to that podcast and focused around that podcast. And that's what this is going to become. I'm pumped. Cole's going to get his wish. We're no longer going to be around this circular table. We'll probably have a couch or a comfortable chair where we can sit back and shoot the bull in a more comfortable setting. In saying that, if you guys have any thoughts of what you'd like to see, what you'd like to hear, any segments you'd like to have in the new podcast, please put them in the comments below. We read every single one. Haven't had time to respond to every single one, but we do our best to look through and read every single one. And like I said, we're still fluid in making the structure and outline of the new podcast, More Than McBee. So we need y'all's input, what you like to hear. What do you want to talk about? What would you like to see as far as guests that we have on? This is expanding, and we're excited. We're going to double down on the podcast going into 2026, have podcast-specific merch lines, have podcast-specific giveaways. We plan on doing a giveaway in every single podcast episode starting in 2026. Starting with More Than McBee, there's going to be a giveaway in every single episode. So y'all really want to tune in. We're going to start giving back value to the people that are tuning into our lives and taking time out of their day, whether you're driving to work, whether you're working out, whether you're sitting at your desk working, whatever you're doing listening to this podcast. We want to showcase how much we value you for tuning in and following along with our lives by being able to offer some of these giveaways for the loyal listeners of this podcast. So, guys, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much again. Make sure to comment. Let us know what you want to hear or what you want to see with the More Than McBee rebrand. I'm so excited for it. and it's going to be good things to come. See y'all next week.